In the depths of our minds lies an extraordinary paradox. The harder we chase our desires, the faster they seem to slip away. Our frantic thoughts become like a crowd of people all rushing through a single doorway, creating a bottleneck that prevents anyone from passing through. You've likely experienced this phenomenon. Those moments when you're desperately trying to manifest something, pumping yourself up with affirmations and visualizations, only to feel an increasing sense of disconnect from your goal. This mental pushing creates a peculiar form of resistance, like trying to force a flower to bloom by prying open its petals. The art of manifestation isn't about muscling your way through mental barriers. Instead, it's about understanding the natural rhythm between focused intention and relaxed allowing. Think of your mind as a lake. When disturbed by countless ripples of scattered thoughts, the surface becomes too chaotic to reflect anything clearly. The transition from scattered to focused thinking begins with a counterintuitive step, releasing the need to control every aspect of the manifestation process. This doesn't mean becoming passive or giving up on your desires. Rather, it's about finding the sweet spot between intention and surrender. Consider how we fall asleep. The more we try to force ourselves to sleep, the more elusive it becomes. Sleep arrives naturally when we create the right conditions and then let go. Manifestation follows a similar principle. Our role is to set the stage and then allow the process to unfold organically. The first phase of this transition involves becoming aware of our thought patterns without trying to change them immediately. Like a scientist observing a natural phenomenon, watch how your mind moves from one thought to another. Notice the urgency, the pushing, the subtle anxiety that often accompanies our desire to manifest quickly. This awareness creates a small gap between our thoughts and our identification with them. In this space, we begin to recognize that our scattered thinking isn't a permanent state, but rather a habit we've developed over time. Just as water naturally seeks its level when left undisturbed, our minds have an innate capacity for clarity and focus. The shift toward focused thinking emerges from this understanding. Instead of forcing our thoughts into submission, we learn to guide them gently, like directing water into a channel rather than trying to hold it in our hands. This requires developing a new relationship with time and patience. Many manifestation teachings skip over this crucial transitional phase, jumping straight to techniques and practices. But without understanding the natural progression from scattered to focused thinking, these techniques often become another form of mental forcing, creating more resistance rather than less. Let me share with you the natural progression that transforms scattered thoughts into focused manifestation power. Begin by creating designated reflection periods throughout your day. These are not rigid meditation sessions, but rather gentle pauses where you observe your mental landscape. During these moments, simply notice the quality of your thoughts without trying to change them. You might find that just this act of witnessing begins to naturally slow the mental chatter. As you practice this witnessing, introduce the soft focus technique. Choose any ordinary object in your environment and rest your attention on it without strain. When your mind wanders, which it naturally will, simply return to the object with the same gentleness you'd use to place a feather on water. This builds your capacity to hold focus without force, essential for effortless manifestation. The next phase involves working with what I call thought transitions. Throughout your day, whenever you catch yourself in a state of mental pushing or forcing, pause and take 3 slow breaths. With each exhale, imagine releasing the grip of urgent thinking. Then, turn your attention to how you want to feel rather than what you want to achieve. This subtle shift bypasses the common manifestation trap of attachment to specific outcomes. Now comes the gentle art of thought sorting, a practice that brings order to your mental landscape without force. Imagine your consciousness as a vast, peaceful space where your thoughts can be arranged with care. Begin to notice the quality of each thought as it appears. Some thoughts feel heavy and restrictive, like "I'll never be able to," or "this is too difficult." Let these settle on one side of your awareness. Other thoughts feel light and expansive, such as "I'm growing" or "this feels possible." Allow these to gather on the opposite side. In the middle, place those thoughts that feel unclear or scattered, the ones that could lean either way. Take your time with this process, handling each thought with the delicacy of sorting dried flowers. Watch what happens when you simply hold space for those restrictive thoughts without trying to change them. Like ice exposed to gentle warmth, they begin to lose their solid form. The thought, "I'm not ready," might dissolve into a simple awareness of where you are in your journey. "This is impossible," might melt into "this is unknown territory." It's similar to holding a tight fist underwater. The moment you stop gripping, the water flows freely through your fingers. These restrictive thoughts maintain their power through our resistance to them. When we create space around them, when we allow them to simply be without fighting or feeding them, they often transform on their own. Some dissolve completely, while others reveal the fears or wisdom hidden within them. This natural dissolution process can't be forced. It happens through patient observation, like watching a knot slowly untangle itself. Now we enter the alchemical stage of the process. Take your desired manifestation, and instead of visualizing it as something to achieve, imagine it as a seed already planted in fertile soil. Your only task is to provide the conditions for its natural growth. Spend time each day sensing what this seed needs. Sometimes it's patience, sometimes action, sometimes simply your trust. This organic approach allows manifestation to unfold without the interference of anxious forcing. The final element involves what I call aligned action windows. These are periods where you consciously choose to act on your manifestation goals from a place of relaxed focus rather than urgent pushing. Start with short windows, perhaps 15 minutes, where you completely accept that whatever you accomplish in that time is perfect. No forcing, no rushing, just aligned action. As you practice, these windows naturally expand, and you'll find yourself spending more time in this state of relaxed productivity. Think of this entire process as similar to learning to ride a bicycle. Initially, you need training wheels, the structured practices and conscious pauses, but gradually, the balanced state of focused yet relaxed attention becomes your natural way of being. The transformation from scattered to focused thinking isn't a battle to be won, but a flowing dance to be learned. Think of your desired manifestation as a delicate ecosystem. It requires certain conditions to thrive, but too much intervention disrupts its natural development. The key is learning to create these conditions while trusting the process itself. This trust isn't blind faith, but rather an understanding of how natural laws operate. As your mind settles into this new way of operating, you'll notice a subtle but significant shift. Manifestation becomes less about making things happen and more about allowing them to emerge. Your thoughts naturally align with your intentions, like iron filings arranging themselves around a magnet. This alignment creates a different quality of focus, one that doesn't strain or deplete your energy. Instead, it energizes and clarifies. Your mind becomes like a laser, not because you're forcing it to concentrate, but because it's naturally drawn to what resonates with your authentic desires. The scattered thoughts that once dominated your mental landscape begin to lose their grip. Not because you've fought against them, but because you've understood their nature and learned to work with rather than against the mind's natural tendencies. This is when genuine manifestation power emerges. Consider how a river carves its path through rock, not through force, but through consistent, aligned action over time. Your focused mind operates similarly, creating channels through which manifestation can flow naturally. The key is maintaining this alignment without falling back into the habit of pushing and forcing. As this new way of thinking becomes established, you'll find yourself operating from a different level of consciousness. The gap between intention and manifestation narrows, not because you're trying harder, but because you're working more intelligently with the natural laws of creation. The practice of manifestation transforms from a series of techniques into a way of being. Your thoughts naturally orient themselves toward what you wish to create, like plants growing toward sunlight. This orientation comes from understanding rather than effort, from alignment rather than force. The mind's natural state is one of clarity and focus. Our scattered thinking patterns are like clouds passing through the sky. Temporary conditions that don't affect the fundamental nature of consciousness. As we understand this, we can more easily transition between states of mind without getting caught in struggle. This understanding creates a new foundation for manifestation. Instead of trying to power through mental barriers, we learn to dissolve them through awareness and aligned action. The process becomes more like growing a garden than building a wall, working with natural forces rather than against them. The result is a kind of effortless power, not the power that comes from forcing or striving, but the power that emerges when we align ourselves with deeper principles of creation. This is when manifestation becomes both natural and inevitable. Our role shifts from being the forceful creator to the wise gardener, creating optimal conditions and then allowing natural processes to unfold. This approach not only produces better results, but also maintains our energy and enthusiasm throughout the manifestation process. As we embrace this understanding, manifestation ceases to be a battle against ourselves or reality. Instead, it becomes a dance with life itself, a co-creative process where our focused awareness opens new possibilities without strain or struggle. The transition from scattered to focused thinking isn't about reaching a perfect state of mind. It's about understanding the natural ebb and flow of consciousness and learning to work with rather than against these patterns. This understanding itself becomes a powerful manifestation tool. Share your experiences with this natural approach to manifestation in the comments below. Subscribe to dive deeper into these insights and join our community of conscious creators who understand the power of aligned thinking. Thank you for watching. This is Ayla, signing off.